Should you buy an iPhone 6s Plus late 2017? That video is coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And should you buy the iPhone 6s Plus late 2017? Now I'm making this video as a follow-up to should you buy the iPhone 6s late 2017. That's a smaller edition. I got quite a few requests saying do the 6s Plus, please, the 6s Plus. And I could see the reason why. This phone has come down in the price point. It offers quite a fantastic value here in late 2017. And let's talk about why that might be. So I'm going to talk about first the specifications that matter, not too much in depth here. You're talking about a 5.5 inch Retina HD display, 401 pixels per inch. That's 1080p resolution. Yes, it's not the best in the world. It's not, 2K or anything like that, but it's very well calibrated and it looks good enough in most regards here, even late 2017. You're also looking at a 4K camera here on the rear. This shoots in a 30 FPS, 12 megapixel. It's a very natural color picture. So like what I mean by that is it looks real to life pretty much here on the 6s Plus. I always enjoyed the camera on this phone, never had an issue with it. And honestly, when I was using this day to day, I didn't see much of a use to upgrade when it comes to the camera. I never had an issue with the camera quality. I mean, look at the detail there in the iPhone 6s Plus. So you're going to get a fantastic camera here as well. A couple other specs that matter: A9 CPU, 2 gigs of RAM. We've seen 3 gigs of RAM introduced with the iPhone 7 Plus, but the iPhone 6s Plus was, a pretty fast phone for its time, and it still is a pretty fast phone. This kind of reminds me, if you buy this right now, it's kind of like the MacBook. If you buy the older, sturdy 2015 version of the MacBook, that's how this feels to me with the iPhone 6s Plus. It's like the older MacBook, but for the phones. It's like the older phone, but it's still sturdy. It's still premium. It's still pretty good looking here. So what about the design, the body, and the build? So I always really enjoyed the iPhone 6s Plus. I thought it was one of the more sturdy, premium feeling iPhones of all time. It was the one that kind of improved over the 6 Plus when that phone was, being a little bit bendy, a little bit flexing, not the most premium feel ever. The 6s Plus took it to another level, making it a little bit more weightier, a little bit more premium. And, some people dig the lines. Some people really didn't like the lines at all here. But buying this phone in 2017, while it doesn't look like it's a super, new high-tech design, it's definitely a classic premium vintage look. And to me, it still looks like you paid some good money for this phone. It's not a cheap looking phone by no means. I still don't think it's the most high-tech, but it still feels premium later 2017. So what about the display? What about the screen? Let's talk a little bit more about that. My experience using this display has been pretty fantastic. I always thought it was it needed a little bit better color reproduction, and they did that with the iPhone 7 Plus and made it a little bit warmer, a little bit closer to the wide color gamut, the P3. So it's not the best display I've ever seen, but it airs more on the cooler side for the iPhone 6s Plus. So if you're buying this phone, you're getting more of a cooler temperature display. But in terms of sharpness, it matches pretty much any Retina display on the market. Probably sans the iPhone 10. We'll see how this compares to the iPhone 10 when we get that in-house. But right now, I could say if you bought this late 2017 at its value price point, you're going to be, enjoying the display here. It's definitely an improvement over phones like the prior iPhones. If you're coming from like a 5S, an SE, any of those smaller iPhones, this is definitely a huge improvement on those devices. And you're going to appreciate the higher contrast ratio with a much sharper, bigger, bolder, beautiful display here on the 6s Plus. Okay, so getting into software here with the iPhone 6s Plus, it's iOS 11. We all know we're waiting for the 11.1 to see if Apple can fix the bug issues. Battery life has been a little bit, weak on these later iOS versions, the iOS 11 specifically. The iPhone 6s Plus was designed to run iOS 9 when it first came out, but I know people are upgrading. It's proof is in the numbers. There's people, if you look at the charts, there's like over 40% install on the iOS, so people are still upgrading their phones. If you're not upgrading, you're probably in the minority. Most people are upgrading their devices. And if you buy this phone today out of the box at Apple, you're going to have iOS 11 pre-installed. And I can tell you right now, it runs pretty smooth on the iPhone 6s Plus. I haven't had too much issues. It's not quite as snappy and fast as like on the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, but you can still run everything iOS has to offer pretty much with ease. And it's not going to change your day-to-day. Day-to-day life is not going to change from going from a 6s Plus or, you know, going to an iPhone 8 Plus. It's going to be the same pretty much experience. Yeah, you might get a slight millisecond or so faster here. And yeah, your camera is going to be better on a newer phone, as well as, you know, it's going to probably be updated further into the future. But if you bought the iPhone 6s Plus late 2017, you're getting about the same performance as a newer iPhone with iOS 11. It's going to be a very similar experience, and you get the same wallpapers and stuff like that. Okay guys, so what about cameras? If you decide to pick one up in late 2017, you got a 5 megapixel camera here on the front that does have live photos, and you have a 12 megapixel on the rear, capable up to many modes of video. You got 1080p 60, 1080p 30, you got 4K 30. You also have slow-mo up to 120 frames per second in 1080p, and I think you could do 240 and 720. So right here, I think you get a pretty good package when it comes to the video department. I actually shot a few videos on here, some live streams as well on this phone. It's been stellar. It gives you a very Canon-like, I would say, picture. So what I mean by that is a more natural, balanced tone. It's not too cool. It airs on the warmer side when it comes to its photography. And I think you're going to love the camera on the iPhone 6s Plus if you decide to pick this thing up. Now, again, the newer cameras are a little bit faster with their shutter and the newer phones. They're also a little bit better with their, you know, saturation and stuff like that. But the 6s Plus, I mean, if you're using this for video, if you're using this for social media, it's not like it's leaps and bounds better on these newer phones. The 6s Plus is still going to get the job done. So that's how I can really define this camera. It's still much better than average, and it gets the job done. So if you're looking for a fantastic camera with your iPhone 6s Plus, you're going to get that here, and you're probably going to get 128 gigs. If you're going to get this phone, just get the 128 gigs. It's going to be plenty of storage to do what you got to do here. Okay guys, so let's speak on battery life here now with this phone, and here's an area where I think almost all Plus phones have been very enjoyable, and the 6s Plus is no different. Now, I think if you do get the Samsung chip one, you're going to have a little bit worse battery life than if you get the TSMC one, so you might want to see if you can find out from the seller, whoever you're buying this from, if it's a TSMC model, because the Samsung chip one was a little faster, but it had worse battery life. And I have the Samsung one, which, you know, it doesn't have horrible battery life, but I've seen better battery life on my TSMC model iPhones. However, the iPhone 6s Plus has excellent standby time. It gets you a good 5 to 6 hours on screen time. And I mean, I don't know how much more on screen time you need than that. I mean, everyone would like a week-long battery life. It's just not happening yet here on smartphones. And the iPhone 6s Plus will get you, I would say, stellar battery life, especially if you're not a heavy user. If you're a very heavy user, this will get you through the full day. If you're a light user, you're going to get 2 days battery life on this phone. It's premium battery life. So I'm not going to say it's iPhone 8 Plus with that efficient A11 CPU. You might get like 8 hours of battery life, or you might get 6 on this one. But I don't think it's going to leave anybody saying, oh man, my phone has horrible battery life. Not with a 6s Plus. All right, guys, so I'm not going to go too in depth here with performance, but the iPhone 6s Plus, I've done plenty of performance tests on the channel. You can see it's very snappy here, even in 2017. No matter what you are doing, it's going to do the job quite well here. Just going into a few applications. I mean, look at the speed here. It's blistering fast, even though it's just an A9 CPU and not the A11 CPU. So coming to this phone, you're going to get some breakneck performance speed. What that means is some pretty boss speed here. Even multitasking is very good here on the 6s Plus. I mean, this was the phone that when I picked it up, I was like, okay, now I'm on the premium performance iPhone. The 6s brought some great performance. The A9 specifically is the chip that I thought brought some leaps and bounds when it comes to performance. So picking this up right now, you're going to get a great performer in the 6s Plus. But the audio, how is the audio? Well, if you're a headphone jack guy, or you don't really want to deal with the, you know, the dongle life right here, you're going to love this phone, because this was the last Plus iPhone to give you that. It came with the headphone jack, and it had a pretty loud speaker on the bottom as well. However, there's no front-facing speaker. So if you like your phone to be the audio king, so basically the phone is what you're using for your speaker all the time, then you might not like this one. But if you're the person who's always with their headphones on, you're going to really appreciate having a headphone jack here on the 6s Plus. You know, seeing as Apple still sells this phone as well, it's one of the last Plus iPhones that's going to give you that. And the audio that comes through that is pretty good. Now, in terms of phone call quality, I actually had a few drop calls on here, and I'm sad to say that this is not the best iPhone for phone call quality, but it'll still work. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and act like this phone doesn't work. It does work. I just seen better iPhones with better phone call quality. However, I'm not going to say that's a deterrent. It's still going to work, you know, depending on your location, depending on your service, it should work different for different people. I just didn't have the best experience with it myself. So what's the conclusions with the iPhone 6s Plus? Is this phone still worth it here, late 2017? I think you pretty much got your answer throughout this video. Been overly positive about it. Yes, it's still worth it. However, is it worth it over the newer phones? Well, it comes down to your personal perspective. If you're looking to buy an iPhone and you don't want to pay more than $600 or so, this is pretty much your choice here in the iPhone 6s Plus. And I'm talking about a new iPhone. I know you can sit up here, people are going to comment, I could just go get a used 6s or a used 7 Plus or a used iPhone 7, the smaller one, for less money. Well, yeah, you can do that, but we're talking about iPhones you can buy right now at the Apple Store. And I would say this one is good for those of you who want a headphone jack. You guys don't want to go, you know, $600, $700, $800 or up above that, you know, iPhone 10. Some people are going to say, oh, just get the iPhone 10. Well, if you just want to get the iPhone 10, why are you watching this video? This is about people who want a 6s Plus. Anyway, hope you found this video helpful, enjoyable. Nick here helping you to master your technology. If you get your 6s Plus, just enjoy it. It's fantastic. I will catch you on the next one. Be sure to be well and peace.